Okay, I'm making this video purely because I think we need to have a level headed conversation about the US China deal that was announced yesterday. Okay, it's all over the social media right now. And what I am seeing is I'm seeing a lot of financial influencers use this as an opportunity to tell people that this is the time to invest, what stocks to buy, and buying stocks, this is the moment. Okay, if you're investing, I want you to take this with a pinch of salt. If you're trading, completely different, right? Because there are opportunities if you're trading. But we do need to have a level headed conversation about what's gone on and is this a deal? Because it's not actually a deal. It's not a deal. It just isn't. And I think that if those financial influencers had paid attention and actually read some of the articles and really got into the details of what this is all about, they wouldn't be making these videos. Although, like, anything for a click and to get some views, I guess. Anyway, we need to have a level headed conversation, which is what I'm hoping to do over the next few minutes or so. And we will talk about obviously investing towards the end of this video. So, what's happened? Before we actually talk about that, let's talk about how we actually got here, because the context is really important. So, tariffs on China right now are at 145%. And when I say tariffs on China, this is on the US end. So Donald Trump has imposed 145% tariffs on Chinese imports or exports going into America. Okay? 145%. This is wholly unsustainable. Wholly unsustainable. Because ultimately, what that means is if you run in a business, and this has wiped out a lot of small businesses, by the way, if you're running a business where you're getting most of your inventory from the US, what would have cost you $100 to get now costs you $245 to get. And that's at just your basis of acquiring it before you sell it for profit. And what that basically means is that because it's a tariff and it's a tax on an import as you bringing it into the country from China, it means that effectively your customers will have to, in some way, shape, or form, bear the additional cost of the 145% tariff. Okay. On the Chinese side, they've imposed 125% tariff on the US sending products over to China. So again, it works exactly the same for consumers buying American goods in China. If it cost $100, it's going to cost them $225, right? This whole thing is just crazy. And from a business point of view, doesn't offer a stable ground to do business. It doesn't give businesses the ability to be able to plan what inventory they need and to be able to cost that in and understand what their profit margins are and to be able to actually work with their suppliers or even inform their customers on the increased price because it's so large, fundamentally is unsustainable. Now, we got here because of the fact that Donald Trump in his second term is really, really going after China. And for good reason, many economists will argue. He talks about the trade deficit, the fact that the Chinese people are able to sell into the US economy far more than the US can sell into the Chinese economy. And that deficit is absolutely huge. And there are lots of factors that go into why that is the case. And the fact that, America is one of the richest companies in the world and they're more of a consumerist country. Whereas in China, their savings rate is just humongous. It's absolutely huge. It's like 45%. So there are fundamental differences in the way the two peoples think and the two peoples use and interact with their money. But that's by the by. 145% tariffs on the US, on China, importing products into the US, 125 going the opposite way with products from America going into China. Now, what has been announced is that they're going to take a pause, okay? A pause. That's really important to note. And this is what's going to happen. The pause is going to be for 90 days. And within these 90 days, they're going to hopefully have enough time to be able to hash out a deal that works for both sides. Now, as part of this agreement yesterday, what they've also agreed is that the US will drop the 145% tariffs on Chinese goods going into the US to 30% for 90 days. And China is going to drop the 125% tariffs on US goods going into China to 10% for 90 days. The 90-day bit is really important. And the 90-day bit is really important because fundamentally, what we're going to be depending on here is, I'm going to put this in Trump's court, his temperament to be able to have a cool head and not do anything in the 90 days that basically derails this whole thing. He might see something, hear something, wake up in a bad mood, send a tweet that derails this whole thing. He's going to need to be level headed to try and get this across. Now, will this happen? I hope so. Do we have any control over it? Absolutely not. We do not have any control over it. And so, if you are looking at this right now, thinking to yourself, okay, well, how do I take advantage of this from an investing point of view? I would like to think that because you've perhaps watched this channel over the years consistently, that you would understand that there is really nothing for you to do. If you're trading, again, completely different scenario, because you're looking at opportunities on a daily basis that you can perhaps scalp, make a little bit of money. That's not what we talk about here. This is not what we do here. We talk about the long-term picture. So you've been following for a while, you'll understand this is all par for the course. If you have been following me long enough, and you'll know that it's all about index funds, and if you are picking individual stocks, you only have that as part of your satellites around your core approach, then you do nothing. Because ultimately, I would have hoped that you would have been invested in the market anyway, and you're continuing to add money on a monthly basis. And while stocks are dropping, you're picking up more. And as they go up, you're profiting more. But ultimately, you're participating in the market as you go along every single month, making this whole thing completely irrelevant to what you do for your investment strategy, if you are investing over the long term. Now, if you're kind of older, and I know that the older demographic in this channel is growing, where you might need access to your pension for income, and this has significantly impacted you. I've mentioned it on a number of videos. This is probably where you would be looking at maybe sitting down with a financial advisor or doing some cash flow modeling just to reassess your strategy to ensure that if you need to take some income, this hasn't dented the longevity of your investment pot or your pension too badly. Because in falling markets, when you're taking an income, the opposite to pound cost averaging happens. It's called pound cost ravaging. So when the markets are falling, you're taking an income from it. You're taking an income from a diminishing amount of money. And that means that sometimes it will take you longer. Well, in most cases, it takes you longer to recover because you're physically withdrawing cash. And that can significantly impact how long that pot of money is going to last you for. So there are two approaches here. One, if you're young, investing 10, 15 years on the clock, 20 years on the clock, don't worry. If you're kind of closer to that retirement age or to the point where you need to access your money for whatever reason, you might be wanting to buy a property as a young person, for example. Well, you probably should have taken action at that point. These are the kind of things that are hard to convey in videos because, frankly, nobody gives a crap, honestly. And this is the stuff that really, really matters. But ultimately, you need to seek help and you need to ask questions. I do coaching with people, and I don't want to use this as an opportunity to plug my coaching service, but I've had so many questions in my inbox. What do I do? What do I do? And I can't get around to all of them all of the time because it's not just a simple question. The answer is dependent on your circumstances. And a lot of the time, it takes analysis. It takes time to understand what you were even doing in the first place to give you the right answer or what might be an approximation of the correct answer. But anyway, please just take all the content that you're seeing online with a pinch of salt. Critical thinking is very important in times like this. There's a lot of hype at the moment around the markets, and rightly so. I mean, these things are great conversation points. And personally, I think it's an opportunity for you it's a learning opportunity, effectively. And if you pay attention to the right kind of channels and the right kind of creators, there's some really good information out there. But if it sounds too good to be true, or it sounds a little bit too hype, investing is not supposed to be about hype and getting rich quick, then please do take that with a pinch of salt. But anyway, I hope you found this really useful. Let me know what you took away from this, or whether any of this made any sense in the comment section down below. There will be another video later on this evening where you're going to be talking about state pension and not the state pension, but pensions and pension relief. That will be at 6 o'clock UK time. But I'll catch you later on. Thanks so much for watching. Cheers.